welcome to this segment of Arts Talk. I'm Sherri Burr, your host, and today we're talking about art at the law school. In New Mexico, the law school has a lot of art, and our featured guests are two people who've been very involved in managing the art at the law school collection. So welcome, Robert Flinkman.
Thank you.
And welcome, Dan Noyes. Thank you for being here. Okay, Dan, let's start with you. You were a staff member managing the Media Center at the law school for 25 years. So tell us how the collection got going.
When I arrived at the law school, there was art in place, and some of it was on loan from UNM, and some of it was on loan from Maxwell Museum, and some pieces were donated. A faculty member encouraged me to start temporary exhibits, like month-long exhibits. So I contacted artists I knew to do that, and then once that happened, a lot of students and alum contacted me and said, hey, you know, my dad's an artist, or my aunt's an artist, or this person I know would be interested in showing work there at the law school. And so over time, there was a good amount of people, artists, contacting me, and we showed their work.
That's wonderful. Okay, so Robert Flinkman, how long have you been at the law school, and how did you get involved in its collection?
I've been with the law school since January of 1999, and I got to know Dan very well, and we were both artists, and we began to share our work and discuss exhibiting work, and I worked with Dan on some of the shows and exhibited some work as well.
Okay, that's great.
And expanded from there, and it grew.
That's wonderful. Now, you are both artists in your own right, and I'd like to show the audience some of your work, starting with Dan Noyes, and let's have you discuss some of the work that's currently on exhibit.
Sure. The one of my pieces is Asian Monument.
And is that the
Yes,
piece?
that's it.
Okay.
And it's a combination print. A lot of my prints are combination media, so they're part monotype, part etching. And you'll notice I have a real thing for blue, and I've come to accept that. I'm really fascinated with blue. I like the color as a symbol, and also as just the vibrancy of it.
Okay, so can you explain to those who may not know what a monotype is, what it is?
Yes, monotype is done on a printmaking press, the same kind of press you would use to make an etching or a lithograph, and you make the design on a plate and then put a piece of paper on top of it and put it through this press that then transfers the image from the plate to the paper.
Okay.
And typically it has to go through the press 2 or 3 times. You add a different color each time.
Okay, so in this one you have your blues, but you also have your greens. So just to have you tell us the name of this artwork and how you created it.
Right, this piece is called Butterfly Stela. It has a wood block at the bottom, which is printed in green. It has a main part, which is actually a rubbing from a book cover that shows these images of Japanese Buddhas that were carved in the 18th century. And I kind of appropriated that, then added a butterfly to it.
Oh, okay.
So.
And that's how it got its name as well.
Yes, right.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, Robert, let's talk about you as an artist, and how did you get started as an artist?
I've always been creating art, even as a child. I always used art as a creative self-expression, and I always looked to artists as role models, how to handle certain life situations or experiences. My mother did a lot of China painting and porcelain work, and she showed me how to paint on porcelain in China. She had a kiln in the garage there, and so that helped a lot. And the arts were always encouraged in my household, very much so, music, painting, and so forth. And I went to Syracuse University and got my BA in art history and art there.
Okay.
And painting, pastel work, etching and aquatint, linoleum block prints, all been a way to express my desires, life experiences, creative self-expression.
Okay, so you mentioned Syracuse University. Are you originally from New York?
No, I was raised outside Philadelphia, went to Syracuse, graduated in the late 70s, and then moved to New York because that was the center of the arts. I bought a one-way train ticket and went to New York with a heart full of hope in one suitcase, and there I was, New York, here I am.
Wow, that's incredible. You also worked at a famous library in New York, right?
Yes, New York Public Library. I was there for about 7 years and working in their acquisitions, their monograph section, but I also explored a lot of their print section too, and took advantage of looking into many of the different examples of artists they had there in print work.
Oh, okay. So let's take a look at one of your etchings and have you tell us how you went about creating this work.
Okay, this one here is a linoleum block print, about 18 by 24, of a scene in Madrid, New Mexico. For this one in particular, I always work on site. In this one in particular, I took a newsprint and vine charcoal and drew it out, the scene that you see there, that's Opera House Road, and then took it back to the studio, transferred it to the sheet of linoleum, and carved it out from there.
Oh, wow. That sounds very involved. How long does it typically take you to create a piece like this?
It could be several weekends,
Uh
depending.
-huh.
And of course, to do an edition takes even longer sometimes. But it's great creative expression to carve into the linoleum, and I also let the process also take hold as well. When I create, it's an organic process. Sometimes it'll take me somewhere that I had not thought or experienced, but I let the creative process even guide me that way.
Oh, okay. Okay, so sounds great. And let's look at your second piece.
Okay, then I did recently, just this summer in 2013, I headed up to Chama. I love that Rio Arriba area. It's gorgeous up there. Chama's beautiful. I love it there. This was done in the Carson National Forest near Chama. It's about 12 by 14 inches, and I etched that on site. I set up a table and chair, put the copper plate there, and I almost draw freehand with the etching stylus. This piece is very significant in the sense that it really reflects a lot of things that I've been through. There's a stream of consciousness that opens up when I work, and everything from childhood to relationships past and present, work, home, family, even desire, pain, all influence how I etch and also how I handle the ink on the copper plate.
Okay. So let's ask the audience if they have any questions for either Robert or Dan. Yes.
How much time do you typically spend on a piece?
For me? Not enough.
Not enough time.
But I've been very fortunate. I basically go on weekends, but you know, the law school has been very good and great about letting me have time off when I need to. I've been very fortunate to work at the law school in that, gosh, how they, with the exhibits that we have, being so flexible with my time when I need it, I try to spend as much as I can. It's balancing life and, you know, life and my love of artwork. I've been able to do so. So, you know, it depends on the piece. If I need to head up to Chama, I can take long weekends. So it varies by piece, but fortunately, the law school has been really helpful and very cooperative. So I'm thankful to them for that.
That's great. Are there any other questions from the audience before I ask him another one? Okay, so I will ask you, why black and white? Why do you choose to work in black and white? Dan has said that he loves blue. Why do you like working in black and white?
I find for what I want to express in my pieces, it's much starker. When you work in black and white, you have to balance the positive and the negative. It's like when a composer plays an impromptu on the piano and the black and white keys on that, that's how I feel when I work in linoleum block print or etching. Also, a lot of influence by the German Expressionists, because they worked in black and white in their work too. There's a certain starkness, there's a strength, there's a power that I can better express what I need to.
Okay, we have about 30 seconds left. Does anybody have a quick question for Dan or?
You said you use blue as a symbol. What does that symbolize or mean to you?
Well, I think blue is, part of it is vastness, maybe kind of a symbol of the universe. Blue is certainly a great symbol of the ocean and the sky. It's to me, a very life-giving color.
Wow. Wow, that's wonderful. The idea of color as life-giving, and you working with the contrast. And I appreciate both of you being here for this segment of Arts Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
UABQ isn't looking for you if you know what to do with a gosh darn camera.
This is the Juan David Show, where we introduce community members to other people of the community that you gotta know. Who do you think is the finest celebrity right now?
I've always had a soft spot for Natalie Portman.
Yeah, but I said of the fine celebrities though. Be yourself who you are inside, regardless of what your outside body looks like, because everybody inside looks exactly like someone all fine, okay?
Hi, I'm Jason Hill with No Joke Survival, preparations for the average family.
We're not going to freeze tonight.
Join James, Danny, and myself here every week on UABQ.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. When I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again now.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
Hi, and welcome back. Today we are talking with lawyers who are artists, and they are currently exhibiting at the law school. Please join me in welcoming Susan Weeks and Linda Vanzi. Okay, so Susan, let's start with you. You're a lawyer and you're an artist. Which came first?
Well, first I was a librarian at the law library, and I was there for 3 years, and then I went to law school, and I practiced law for 13 years, and then I decided to paint full-time.
Oh, nice, nice. So tell us about your art.
I can tell you that when I was a lawyer, I worked in children's court abuse and neglect cases, and those cases were so difficult that I found I was painting more and more because the painting was therapeutic for me. And so I decided that that was really more my passion, and so I decided to follow it. I had taken courses here and there after college.
Okay, so we have 2 examples of your work to show the audience that you are currently exhibiting at the law school, and both of these pieces are available in the law school forum for anyone to come and look. And so we'll start with this piece.
Yes, this is called Bootscape, and it comes from my travels. I went up to Santa Fe, took the rail runner, and near the rail yard is a store that sells these boots. And I have a market series that I'm doing, and I like to just come upon things that are already arranged in the world, and I extract them. And this one to me is about light. I think light defines the boots, and it's also a one-point perspective, so it brings your eye in, and it takes you through the painting.
Wow. Yeah, and they are so colorful.
And that's another thing I like to do. I like to really saturate my color. I'm a little bit like Dan. I have something for color.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful. And you have a second piece that's also on exhibit at the law school and available for people to see and purchase. So tell us about this piece.
Yes, this one is a transitional piece for me. I've done photorealism in the past, and this is a little bit more towards abstraction. I saw some little shapes in there that I decided I would put in there. It is a mountain stream in Tennessee. It's refracted light, and you can see like little fish and faces and things like that. And over in the upper right-hand corner, there's a face that has a figure kind of attached to it, and I decided that was, I call it water spirit. The painting is water spirit, and it looked to me like the Edward Munch figure in The Scream, and so that's how I named that one. Another thing is that when I do my center of interest, which is where that little face is in the upper right-hand corner, I do a tic-tac-toe kind of board with my image, and where the lines intersect, that's where I put one of the centers of interest.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay, Linda Vanzi is also exhibiting at the law school, and she has had one of the best rollouts for an artist that I have ever seen, because we put her pottery in a display case, and I immediately got phone calls and emails saying, how can I purchase this? And all her work sold before the exhibit launched. And so Linda was kind enough to make some additional pieces that the law school can sell as silent auction. And she has donated all of her work. So all of her work will go into the art committee's scholarship for a student who advances the arts. And so Linda, let's just start with this beautiful bowl and have you discuss, how do you go about creating your pottery?
You know, one of the a potter that I greatly admire said that one of the magic about clay is that you take the lowliest form of material on earth, mud, and you turn it into things that are useful and sometimes beautiful. And the thing about clay is it's so versatile. You know, the glazes are versatile, the types of clay you use. And this one is a pretty sturdy clay base with a crackle glaze. And the glaze cracks just depending on how thick or thin it is on the piece.
Oh, nice, nice. And so you call this crackle?
I just call it crackled. I call them 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so this is crackle 3 because we've already sold the others. And let's take the piece in the middle.
So I like to sometimes make more functional types of pieces, things that you could use in your kitchen. All of these pieces can be put in the oven, baked with. And I also like to use raw materials, so none of these actually represent it, but this is just corrugated cardboard. So I'll use pieces of metal, pieces of wood, pieces of cardboard to cause imprints in the clay as well.
Wow. And so you could actually bake with that dish?
Yes, you can.
Is it microwavable
as well? It's even microwavable.
Wow, wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's look at the vases that you have.
So the rest of these, so as you can see, this piece and the crackle piece I hand built. All the rest of these I threw on a wheel.
Okay.
And that's the other thing about clay for me. It's very much about being centered and balanced. When I'm not, I hand build. Right? And when I feel like I can actually throw on the wheel, then I tend to come up more with bowls and vases and things like that.
And have you ever had that experience, like that scene from Ghost where
somebody comes behind me and helps me?
No.
I wish, but no.
No, I was thinking more of the scene where she's wheeling, things are wheeling, and then it collapses. And I don't know what causes that to collapse.
Almost anything. You have to be very willing to let go in the process of clay, because you can lose things in just the creation process. You can then have what you might think is a beautiful piece, and then you go to trim to, create a base or something like that. And if the clay is too dry or too wet, it might collapse or shatter then.
Okay.
Or you could put it in the kiln and open up the kiln and find out that your piece has exploded. So there's many opportunity for release and retrying what you've once done before.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So we're filming today in front of a live studio audience, and let's ask the audience if they have any questions for either Susan Weeks or Linda Vanzi about their creative process. Julie?
Sure. This question is for Linda. Linda, I was wondering how you learned your art or how you came upon it.
I've always wanted to work with clay. I actually grew up in Singapore taking Chinese brush painting lessons a very long time ago. And that was way too much like my work. You know, it required a certain precision and just attention to detail and copying old masters and things like that. And I wanted something that was a little bit freer, very separate from my work. And so I started this about 2 years ago. I finally just said, I've always wanted to do pottery, and I work at a great studio and just absolutely love it.
Are there other questions before I ask another one? Yes.
This is a question for Linda also. You said you use some materials to put texture into the clay itself. Do you use anything to put texture into the glazes, any natural materials?
Sometimes I do. This piece has iron oxide in it. So the glaze is a celadon. This is a much lighter clay. It's more of a porcelain type of clay. And I'll mix up iron oxide and use that on the clay. So I am not as sophisticated yet with glazes because there's so much out there and so much to try.
So Dan, do you have a question for Susan?
Oh, sure. You know, you had talked about your work providing a kind of release. And maybe the observation I have is that it strikes me with a lot of artists that there's a motivating factor of release, but that release gets manifested as a form of beauty. And I think that's a very intriguing connecting point I think a lot of artists have, and I certainly see that in your work.
Well, that's a good point, because when I made the decision to go from being a lawyer to being an artist full-time, to me, when I was working on my pieces, I could control what was happening somewhat. And I was creating what I was attempting to produce beauty. And in cases just go everywhere, and you don't really feel like you control them. So, and there's also a kind of meditative feeling when you paint, and you end up with something that surprises you, that you connect to.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan, and thank you, Linda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Packers.
Red State. Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
But when we live united.